Oi, lads. Alright, what's this? Potion of Empowerment. You gain 2 life, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. That could be pretty good. Alright, these three. These three cards are pretty serious, man. Sadly, this one sucks, I think. Which is really unfortunate, but... Venerable Warsinger. 1 red-white for a 3/3 Vigilance Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may return target creature card with mana value X or less from graveyard to battlefield, where X is the amount of damage it's dealt to that player. I just think this card, sadly, it sucks, huh? I mean, it's not terrible, but there's no way that you would play it in your Boros deck. Like, you have Redain, Bone Crusher, Apparition, Maul, the new PV cards. Can return Doggo or Alcid. What if I told you this card returns nothing ever? Yep, like no haste, no enter the battlefield. It doesn't have Priest of Forgotten God text on it, and it doesn't cost 2, therefore it's unplayable, sadly. What if I told you it sucks? Yeah, like... Every time there's a 3 mana card, you have to think, okay, what does the game state look like if I cast this after my opponent casts Lovestruck Beast? If I cast this after my opponent casts Lovestruck Beast, well, I lose, right? Rip apart. This card is a bomb. El Bombo. So this is sorcery speed, a braid that can target planeswalkers and enchantments as well. This card's just completely insane because it covers you in game 1 against all of the cheesy strats, you know. You actually can't lose to anything obscure if you've got this card in your deck. This card looks bonkers. It is bonkers, mate. I'm sure that you'll be sideboarding this card out like a lot of the time, but that's fine. It's just a game 1 safety net, isn't it? It's absolutely OP. Elite Spellbinder. When it enters the battlefield, look at the target opponent's hand. You may exile a non-land card from it. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owners may play it. A spell cast this way costs 2 more to cast. I mean... Yeah, it's a card for Ephemerate deck, yeah. The tax stays even when the card is removed. I know, I mean, this card's obviously good. But I wish it wasn't 3 mana, though. 3 mana is already a chilling slot for all these decks, isn't it? You like the idea of this with Divine Gambit. Why, so you can tax their permanent and then let them bring it into play for free? When it dies, you still pay the additional cost? Yes. The card is just permanently taxed even if it dies, yeah. Can't bring the taxed permanent in, it's exiled. I mean, Divine Gambit is a pretty cool card, but... And I'm, in my opinion, mega underrated. The card's really good. The only question is it better than Apparition? Is it better than Maul? It might be better than Maul. It's not better than Apparition. Yes, that's true. So you've got Apparition, you've got Maul, you've got Lurrus, Heliod. A lot of good 3-drops, and that's if you're playing mono white, which I don't think you will be. I mean, it seems like you want to play Boros, right? You get Rip Apart, you get Lore Hold Command, which I was taking another look at last night, and now suddenly I'm hyped about this card. Alright, chat. I was sitting casually on my sofa last night, reading over these command cards, and now I've decided they're actually the nuts. They're the nuts. They're all the nuts. Apart from the Simic one. But even the Simic one has a place in some metas. Why? Well, this Boros one, for example. 3 to a token. +1/+0, haste indestructible, lightning helix, village rites. And the sack a permanent can target lands as well. There is just no game situation where this card's bad. There's no board state where this thing sucks. Maybe if they have 3 4/4s, it could be a problem. When you have 4 lands, well, if you've got 4 lands, you can just cast your showdown instead, right? Easy. This one's great for 2 mana. Probably better than Historic, though. The Orzhov, Izzet, and Boros ones are all good. The Simic one is good against exactly the Great Henge or exactly Embercleave, which is too narrow. The Boros 3-drop is terrible, sadly. This one, the Warsinger. I mean, you just this card is really good, but it's not as good as other 3-drops, and in a real game of Magic, this card's bad, so you just can't play it. It's not far off being playable, but it's not playable, and therefore it's terrible. No haste, no end to the battlefield. You can't play a creature. You cannot play creatures that don't have haste or end to the battlefield effects. Semester's End. 4 mana instant. Exile any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers you control. At the beginning of the next end step, return each of them to the battlefield under its owner's control. Each of them enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, an additional loyalty counter on it if it's a planeswalker. Guys, it's probably good, yeah, I just hate cards like this. It's so boring, man. It's just like the same shit for 2 years, right? I hate cards like this because there's no room for deck building with it. Like, you just, if you want to play this card, the rest of your deck just builds itself. It's just blinking stuff is just so boring, man. Because there's like 1,500 cards in Standard. If you want to play a card like this, you leave yourself with a deck building pool of like 10 cards. It's just so trash, man. It's hard to, I don't know if it's good or not, but it seems okay, right? It's kind of like, Coco, honestly. Yeah, I mean, creatures are already impossible to play. You can only play into the battlefield or haste creatures, right? And this, like, yeah. So this removes half of the creature options from your deck, you know? I absolutely accept that it is possible that there is a good creature deck with this card in it. of course. But yeah, a monkey could build a deck with this card in it. It's just a kind of boring approach, right? Academic Probation. White Lesson. Choose a non-land card name. Opponent can't cast spells with the chosen name until your next turn. Choose non-land permanent. Until your next turn it can't attack or block, and its abilities can't be activated. I mean, this card is not worth 2 mana in your deck, but it's kind of worth 2 mana when it gets attached to a 2 mana 2/1 draw card or whatever. All lessons are shit so far, just like high school. Nah, this one's fine, right? The problem is that it's white, and it's very difficult as a white gamer to know what you're naming here. I guess you have Spellbinder to see the hand. Just name Wrath, and it's like, no. Lessons are free cards. What do you want more? Oh, it's not a free card. Where's the symbology guy? Lessons are risk-free additions to a best of one deck. They're not though. There's a price to pay to play them, man. You just like, if you, they might be worth it. They probably are worth it, but they're not free by any means. I mean, this is the best one so far, right? It's 2 mana 2/1, but you're not. You're paying something to have this in your deck. You're paying 1/2 worth of stats, right? I mean, a base 2-drop is a 3/3, and you're only getting a 2/1. So you're paying 1/2 worth of stats to get access to these cards, which is probably worth it, but it's not free. This one's decent though. Base 2-drop is a 3/3? Oh, base 2-drop's better than a 3/3, man. Name one? Well, there's the Gruul Goblin, right? It's either a 3/3 or a 2/2 haste. That's like, 2-drops have to be way better than that to see play. There's the... You'd rather draw a card from your deck than a lesson. Oh yeah, but you're not going to get a 2 mana 2/1 draw card in mono white. The base stats for a 2-drop is slightly better than 3/3. So you have to evaluate cards that way, right? Like, what are you getting from this payment? You make your payment in stats for text. So what are you paying and what are you getting? At the moment, lessons are better in best of 1 than best of 3. I mean, they will be better in best of 1 than best of 3. Of course. Learn cards are weak so far. Now this one's really good, man. Symbology. The blue one's also okay, but it's kind of bad. Not because a learn card is bad, or not because it has learn on it, but just because those type of cards are pretty shit. Just like draw cards, do nothing else. I think this Planeswalker's pretty cool though. My issue is, I just, like, instants and sorceries are just so bad, man. The Planeswalker is trash? How though? The 3 mana one gives you a solid effect. The plus is good in some matchups. The 5 mana one is just a normal 5 mana planeswalker, right? That protects itself and draws cards. How is it good? Well, I mean, it depends what deck you're playing. Like, if you're playing 4 of this, 4 sharks, and 30 instants and sorceries, if there's a way to win games doing that, then this will be a great card in that deck, right? The issue is most heavy instants and sorcery decks don't really do anything. I don't see that changing anytime soon, but I mean, I guess you can still play Borrowers, you can still play Bone Crushers, stuff like that, but 3 mana deal 1 damage is really bad. I would like to thank you for evaluating cards like that, because you're the reason that I have a job. There's very little archetypes that either side of this planeswalker is bad against, right? This dragon is so terrible, huh? This is a hard one for me to evaluate. It's not got haste or an enter the battlefield effect. This thing's bad, right? Bird's kind of useless. Cleric might be useful, but unlikely. Lorehold Excavation. 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, mill a card. If a land card was milled this way, you gain 1 life. Otherwise, you deal 1 damage to each opponent. For 5, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create the 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. Okay. That's terrible. Radiant Scroll Wielder. 4 mana 2/4 cleric. Instant and sorcery spells you control have lifelink. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard. You may cast it this turn. If a spell cast this way would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Okay. That's terrible. Returned Past Caller. 3, a red or a white, and a white. For a 4/2 spirit cleric creature with flying. What is that? 6 mana 4/2 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, return target spirit, instant, or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, that's terrible. Stonebound Mentor. 1 a red and a white. For a 3/3 spirit advisor. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, scry 1. Okay, that's terrible. Alright, done. Sadly, they're all bad. I mean, they're all really bad. This thing is pretty gas in draft, to be fair. 6 mana 4/2 flyer. Return a card to your hand. Seems okay. Honestly, this dwarf is not even good in draft. Boros Mythic Dragon. 7 mana, 5/5. Flying, Vigilance, Haste. Velomachus Lorehold. Whenever Velomachus Lorehold attacks, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Velomachus Lorehold's power from among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That is a lot of knowledge around his neck, yep. I would cast this for 5, yeah. 7's just a hell of a lot of mana, isn't it? It's the same price as a Sultai Ultimatum, by the way, just saying. Same price as Ultimatum. Would you rather cast Sultai Ultimatum or Velomachus Lorehold? Like, would you rather cast Volumicus Lorehold or 2 out of 3 of Vorinclex, Kiora Best of Sea God, and Auron's Epiphany for 7? Is there any chance in hell that this sees play? There's only 2 possible answers to that. No or no Megalol. The correct answer is yes. Okay, let me rephrase. Is there any chance in hell this card sees play outside of Bronze Tier 4? It has haste. It does have haste. And it needs a way to, like, protect itself, right? Like, if it could protect itself in some way, or gain some sort of benefit from being removed, then maybe, but then maybe you could consider it in a reanimator thing, because it is a decent one to reanimate. Okay, guys, honestly, this card is absolutely pathetic dog shit, okay? The only reason that I'm sitting here talking about it is because I know that you guys like dragons. So I'm trying to do you a favour here. So stop typing in chat about how I'm a dumbass because I'm talking about this card, okay? I know this card's fucking trash. I'm just trying to be a nice, friendly content creator and letting my chat talk about dragons, because dragons are cool. 3 mana, 2/2 first strike. Magecraft, whenever you cast instant or sorcery, +1/+0 until end of turn. Alright, tapped dual land, unnamed. For 5, you can scry 1. Blue Castle in Boros. Pog. 5 mana is a hell of a price to pay for 1 scry in it. But in some situations it's not. I think that's actually a pretty good land for like a basic land. Or for like a common land. They're normally worse than that, right? Illuminate History. Rare red lesson. Discard any number of cards. Draw that many cards. If there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, create a token. What? Look at the detail in this stonework. Professor, our assumptions about early Cathorian tool use may not be correct. This seems really good. A wheel you can tutor that often creates a 3/2 body. This is the type of lesson design that was worrying me. I mean, honestly, low threshold for being worried, in my opinion. Very low. Go blank. 3 mana sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards, then exile all cards from that player's graveyard. Interesting. Interesting. That would be a bomb lesson. I mean, this one would be OP as a lesson, no? Yep, that is Mind Rot and Tormod's Crypt for 3. And 1 card. That ain't bad. Anti-rogue tech, target yourself. What? Discard 3 cards to exile your own graveyard. Okay, I guess, fine. What do we think about Go Blank, chat? Is this a constructed, viable Magic the Gathering card? It's good against cycling, huh? True. Honestly, it's the kind of design I was worried about.
I'm Alan.
Oh, we've got another one here.
I had to connect with my
got an elephant cleric.
Before you left the card page.
Legendary creature, elephant cleric, 5 mana 2/4. Spirits you control get +1/+0. Not a spirit, by the way. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a token. Okay, that's a pretty good draft card right there. Any comments? There 100% has to be an OTK in EDH with something that gives your creatures haste and a combo that endlessly recurs an artifact or enchantment between the battlefield and the graveyard, or an instant or sorcery to the hand. I'm not sure that it is viable based on the cost, but that's something to look at. Tormod that makes 4/2s. That is so rad. I like that Wizards of the Coast is making me like Boros for the first time. How do we break this with Living Lightning and Anarchist? What? I mean, Tormod's Crypt, make a bunch of 3/2s, huh? None of them have haste. Feels bad, man. It only makes 1 3/2. Okay. What the fuck's that guy on about then? Even if it made 100 3/2s, it would still suck, I think. Alright, let's see what people have to say about the Velomachus Lorehold. I want to like this, but that mana cost is killing it, even with the haste. I just can't think where this will be good outside of limited. 2 mana expensive for Eternal formats. Maybe some Reanimator or multiple attack steps type deck would want it, but that's super niche. As a commander, again he's just so expensive. Maybe as part of the 99 in a Jeskai build or Naya that can ramp to him easily. It's a bit early to say in standard, but the Golgari and Orzhov colours don't appear to be in reanimation this set, so Reanimator is unlikely. Since shards aren't supported this set, Nyan isn't likely to be powerful. At best I can see this as a control finisher for Jeskai. Would give a lot of card draw, I guess. I mean, I kind of agree, but I would have said all of that in one word. Like, just said dog shit, you know? That covers just about everything. Really. Alright, rip apart. What are we thinking, community? Beans of the sing fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. The more you toot, the more you fart. The more your pants will rip apart. Alright, I'm downvoting that. This, not even close to a braid. A braid is an instant, which is very important and much better. Power level on the card is solid 5, middle of the road. A braid is a solid 7. False, by the way. Big false. I really don't like this set. Until now, I think there are 2 to 3 okay cards, and the rest is just garbage. Most of the cards that look cool and good just require too much setup, and I hate the idea of MDFCs and creatures on both sides. It just doesn't make any sense flavour-wise. I know the set isn't spoiled completely yet, but I just wanted to share my opinion. That's sad, man. Poor Storm Devil, can't... no hype. No hype. Spirit Summoning. 3/2 token lesson? Sure. Reconstruct History. Return up to 1 target artifact card, up to 1 target enchantment card, up to 1 target instant card, up to 1 target sorcery card, up to 1 target planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Not terrible. I mean, the card's good. The deck is going to be bad though. Blade Historian. Rare. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. Human, by the way. 4 devotion for your Heliod. double strike Heliod. Turn 3 Heliod, turn 4 Blade Historian, Heliod attacks with indestructible double strike. It is something for Winota to pull out. I mean, Winota pulling this from your deck ain't bad. An actual Winota card. A human that has a reasonable mana cost that is playable from your hand and also cool to pull from your deck. It gives your Anax 4 power if you want to play mono red. Well, it gives your Anax 4 power and double strike. So it's a Winota card, huh? Alright, what are we saying about Winota? Is it time to build Winota, chat? We've built like 3 Winota decks every single set since Winota came out, and 0 of them have ever been good, but for sure this time it will be different. Strict Proctor. 2 mana, 1/3, Spirit Cleric, flying. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield, causes a triggered ability to trigger, counter that ability unless its controller pays 2. I mean, it's a good card. Causes a triggered ability to trigger. What is a triggered ability? Is Apparition a triggered ability? Yes. Right, so you can't play this card. Because you've got white mana, so you've got 4 apparitions. And you're just going to tax yourself. You're going to counter your own apparition. I don't think you can play this, guys. Like, this card is really good. But it actually cucks the best other cards to have in your own deck. Dude, why did they just make all red cards so bad? What does Wizards have against red, man? This is your fault, guys. At least we got Rip Apart. Rip Apart is super gas. MTG community collectively cucking a whole entire color. Ecuador! Ecuador!